A leader falls, but the war rages on. One of the most compelling and powerful episodes of the season on an all-new Lost. Thursday at its new time, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, followed by a new Grey's Anatomy on ABC. Well, got a little intrigue playing out here as we're a half a lap from the restart. We've got some guys shuffling up front. Their strategy because, Brad.
Yes, sir, AB. I tell you what, we got about 14 laps to go before we get to the halfway mark, which could be the checkered flag. So guys now are playing it smart. All these guys are shuffling forward through these pit stops, maybe just getting gas and go, just like the 18 car did. That's going to put him in the position to compete from here on out for those next 13, 14 laps.
Remember, Kyle's been hanging around at the back of the field all race long, but because we're coming up on halfway, while he would normally be content to do that for another 40 laps, he's got to do it now in case the rain closes in and the race falls shy of its scheduled distance. So 18 positions picked up on his pit stop by getting fuel only for Kyle Busch. And Doc, he was not the only one to play a little strategy game for track position here.
Alan, he was not. We talked about the 66 car getting 2 tires only for Stephen Wallace. Moved him up in position there. Stephen behind Tony Stewart. You saw left side tires on Tony. And as you mentioned, halfway is just 13 laps away. These guys know weather is coming, so it's time to pull the trigger, which is exactly what you're talking about Kyle Busch and company are going to do.
Yeah, I think the fact that he just took, that fuel and got up there is saying that he's going to go racing from here on.
Yeah, strategy's out the window now. It's just about hard racing and getting yourself to the front, and I think that's probably what we'll see him do. It'll be interesting to see how long Dale Jr. wants to go behind Stephen Wallace here, or exactly what happens there. I know he was very comfortable being behind Tony, and I think that's where he would really like to be in this situation at this point in time of the race.
You talked about how patient the 20-year-old Stephen Wallace was. He has not led at Talladega. He's led here in ARCA competition a couple of years ago. Led last year 1 lap, came from the back of the pack. How patient will he be here in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
He's getting ready to have a little momentum right here. He might be getting ready to take the lead for the first time at Talladega.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say he's getting ready to get a big push. We'll see how much patience he does have, because it's one thing sitting back in 6th, but now you got a chance to get to the lead.
Tony Stewart, Stephen Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Talking about 2 guys to learn from in terms of drafting. I know he learned a lot from his dad, Rusty, but here he's got a champion, 2-time champion in front of him, and a 6-time Talladega winner right behind him.
And we see Reed Sorensen in this 22 car. This is the first time we've seen him up front. He's been working hard back there in the draft, but this is the first time we've seen him up in the front group.
22 car, Reed Sorensen, his first start of the year, driving for Armando Fitz. Big sponsor announcement for that team yesterday for 6 events here in nationwide competition. Boy, what would a good top 5 mean for the 22 car?
Well, they could use it right now for sure.
And Reed had a great run at the Daytona 500 in the Sprint Cup race, so he obviously understands the draft and getting himself into position.
If you just joined our coverage, it is a 117-lap race. Now, rain is on the way, we are being told. And the NASCAR rules are this: you got to go to halfway plus 1. Halfway being lap 59 or 58, 59. So that's once you get to halfway, you're okay. Mike Bliss on pit road.
It's like they're changing right side tires. Maybe had a problem with, I don't know, loose lug nuts. You'd have to wonder why they would be coming right back down pit road right after making pit stop. It's be a costly mistake, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We've talked about him being up front earlier and had a great run going. So he'll have to hope that we're going to have a caution flag at some point in time, because he's going to get a lap down.
Mike, update us on what happened with Mike Bliss.
Well, I got to tell you that Andy is pretty keen in his observation, thinking it was a loose lug nut, but it wasn't exactly a loose lug nut. They thought it was a loose rear wheel on that right side. That's why they stopped, guys.
Mike Bliss trying to get up to speed and doesn't have a lot of help there when it's awfully lonely on a big racetrack when you don't have anybody to pull from that draft.
It's very lonely, because you can't, when you're running by yourself, you're probably 4 or 5 miles an hour slower than these guys that are going to be coming behind you.
Oh, yeah, they're just going to get to you in a hurry. As we see Dale Jr., we're wondering how long he would be patient, but he got a push from the 22 and has gone to the front of the pack right now. He is still getting a push through the corner.
These guys are absolutely locked up.
That's what I call draft lock right there. That's Reed Sorensen right behind him in the 22 car. And look at the crowd on their feet. This is the unofficial capital of the Junior Nation, Talladega, Alabama. They love the Earnhardt family here, and listen to him as he comes by as the leader.
Years ago, when I was Earnhardt Senior's crew chief, we didn't have sometimes these monitors like these guys have now. They could see what's going on the track. We could tell when Senior took the lead just by the roar of the crowd. You heard it right there.
That might be the only scenario that these people wouldn't mind it raining here at halfway. You know, they want to see a full race, but if Junior's out front, I think they would be happy.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. said this week he loves coming to Talladega. It's what he calls Alabama Mardi Gras. Everyone has a good time. The campgrounds, the infield, the racetrack. He said, and on top of it all, we get on the track and put on one heck of a show.
Yeah, these guys are well aware of the weather, and we can see them now. You know, it's not a 40-car pack, but we have over 20 cars in this pack right now. We see Stephen Wallace hanging with Tony Stewart and trying to work himself back in a good position as they try to get back to the front.
Well, we see this 5-car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. You see how he's using that rear view mirror. He's using that mirror to see which line's coming. He saw that momentum coming from the 20 car, and now you see him taking the lead here. You got more on the 5-car, Shannon?
Yeah, we're talking about his crew chief, Chad Walters, certainly someone who was very happy to see that number 5 car get to the front of the pack. Of course, Chad Walters was serving a suspension this season, 6 weeks. This is his second race back on top of that pit box, the first one with Dale Jr. You know, I talked to Chad Walters today. I asked him what it was like being home watching the races, and he said, I didn't watch them. I couldn't watch them. In fact, the only time he turned on the set to watch the nationwide races, last few laps of Vegas.
Good to have Chad back on the pit box. Dale Earnhardt Jr., by the way, that is a JR Motorsports car. He owns a Hendrick Motorsports engine. Behind him, Tony Stewart, Joe Gibbs engine. Behind him, Stephen Wallace. Those are Earnhardt Childress engines, so real strong engines up front from 3 different manufacturers.
Andy made a great point just a minute ago about Dale Earnhardt Jr. moving up and using the draft. We always talk about using the draft from behind a car. You have to use it all over the place. You have to be ready to take that air wherever you can get it, and making that block and getting that push from behind is what kept him out front. Otherwise, they would have gone right past him as they were drafting behind him. So you not only have to know how to suck up and bump draft a car, you have to know when they're coming, how fast they're coming, and how much of a chance you can take at blocking them.
And like you said, it is risky. I mean, you pull yourself in front of a guy that's got some momentum, you want to use that push, but it's risky. That guy could get into the back of you and turn you around.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has not won in NASCAR nationwide competition since August of 2006 at Michigan. Could he get it done at Talladega? Earnhardt Jr. hanging on. Back with more after these messages and a word from our ABC station.